Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Somers Town Board work session here at 7 o'clock, Thursday, February 2nd, 2023. Before we start, I'd like to ask Morgan and Ethan to come up here, please, and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
All right. Start us off. You do right from there.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, guys.
So what are you guys here for? Oh, very good. My daughter was in that. Very nice.
The honors.
Good luck.
Very nice.
My son wasn't, my daughter was.
Right, keep on looking. You need another sticker. Chair. Well, please see. Let's know the old person. Jeez. All righty here. So let's start with a town update. Let me give a little update about Shenorock here. It's been on our town board agendas here for the past couple of times. Just want to let everybody know out there that we currently put up 6 mirrors have been put up around Shenorock, and one of those was an additional one on Forest Lane. A resident called in, thought it would have been a great idea for us to put, right now. There she is, to put up a mirror around there. And from what we've gathered and what the information we have back from her, that it's already made a big difference. So I just want to let everybody know that there were 6 mirrors that have been put up around Shenorock. It works. Yep. And then next up here, as we move right along.
No, you skipped over public comment.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Let me go back to that. Sorry. I'd like to make a motion to open up public comment.
Yes, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Is there anybody here for public comment?
Say, I figured there was.
Please, if you could come on up and state your name and address, that would be great for us.
Good evening, Robin Anderson, 9 Cypress Lane, Shenorock. Just wanted to start off by thanking Nick and all the work he did to get those mirrors up, and you gentlemen also. And the trees trimmed, it's been great. And we see that the stop signs and the temporary speed humps are on the agenda for tonight, that's all going to be moving forward. And so we're really excited about that. But we did have some concerns about other issues and just wanted to see if we could get an update on that as well. I think it was 1 or 2 meetings ago, you suggested we contact Senator Harcum about the stoplight. So we have done that. We have emailed his office and we're waiting for a response.
Did you get a reply back?
Not yet, but it's only been a couple of days. So I got an auto reply saying they got the
You
message.
could call his office and get someone right on the phone.
Okay, I could give that a try also. So we're looking into that to see what we can do with that. We'd also talked about reducing the speed limit in Shenorock to 25 miles an hour. I drive through Dobbs Ferry all the time. They have a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit there through most of the town. On Northfield Road, which is a major pass-through road, they have a series of speed humps that are 15 miles an hour. They don't slow me down that much. I mean, if you go 15, 16, you're fine going over them. And I was really hoping that we could do something like that here in Shenorock. I think the speeds are just excessive. So the mirrors, like we can see people speeding really fast at us now, which is helpful. Yeah. Yeah. The other issue is the speed humps. I know we're talking about temporary speed humps by the lakes, which is great, but there are many areas that need them, and we really feel permanent ones are what's required. I know Nick is opposed to them, but if there is something else we can do, we've sent you information. We'd really like at least a rationale as to what the thinking is, why they're appropriate in most other towns, but not in Somers.
I know in a lot of areas it has to do with plowing and especially, narrower roads and stuff like that. So we could talk to the highway superintendent and get some information on that. I mean, I know that's why we put in many years ago, we put in a temporary speed hump over in Lincolndale, and we take it up in the winter,
right,
for the plowing on Lakeview or whatever, like Lakeshore.
Lakeshore.
It does put a beating on your machines and your trucks, and I'm sure that's probably the reason why.
But what Nick has told us is the plowing, and he also said, and he said it several times, if he puts them in Shenorock, everyone will want them, and it'll be a huge problem for the town, and that's not really a good reason not to do it. So if we could look at that a little bit further. The other thing we'd asked about was crosswalks, and Nick had mentioned that an enforceable marking or something. I didn't understand a lot of what he was saying, but I
There is
haven't heard
state
anything
law
back about
on
that.
where you can put it.
So-
That is probably.
Right. So there were crosswalks by the community center and by the temple in the past. When they repaved Cypress Lane, they paved right over them. The crosswalk sign is still there, but nothing, no
Oh, is that
marking on the road. Yeah. And so we had asked about that and I haven't heard anything.
Are those the two locations that you're asking for?
The
Or
other
are you
place we
asking
asked for
different-
one was up by Rockies. There's a bus stop there. The post office there, Rockies is there. And people come flying through there all the time. There's no stop signs at that corner. So we were hoping for a crosswalk so the kids can get on and off the buses safely.
Okay.
Maybe. So the other two, if the signs are there, that's just replacing what was.
Right,
We
right.
assume that they were legal. And then the other one.
Who knows?
And you don't care. And you don't care. And then the other one, yeah, that has to be looked at by.
Yeah. So we were wondering if we could get some follow up on that. And that was it. And we do appreciate the efforts that you're making. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Appreciate it. Do we have anybody else here for public comment?
Don't hurt yourself.
Warranty on the parts expired.
Mhm.
My name is Felipe Alvarez. I'm on 9 Cypress Lane also. Just want to touch on two things. One, we've never mentioned it before, but maybe in a prior letter we did. I know that you have to wait to get approval for the stop signs or additional ones or anything like that, but you have a lot of existing signs all over Shenorock that are either graffitied, fading out, or falling apart or missing all entirely. So that's something you should look at now, because I think that's something that you can do now because it's there already.
Yeah.
Sure.
You're just replacing something.
Sure.
Okay.
Just replacing something you can. And they're pretty, a lot of them are pretty old or missing.
That's a good point.
So
Yeah,
that's,
we can have the highway go.
That's easy.
Yeah.
Drive through.
and this is totally unrelated to that. The second point I wanted to make real quick is Shenorock Lake. A lot of people keep on, a lot of people are walking in the summertime or wintertime, especially in the summertime. They walk through the nice path that you guys got the money to fix, but people have destroyed the pathway on the side of the road by parking their cars there. And there's no signs that say that they cannot park there. So they just come and they park there. So they've taken a lot of the grass, nice grass that used to be there. It's all gone. Then it becomes a big muddy mess and people have to go through there. So maybe if you, I don't know what to do. You also, people dumped a lot of their summer clippings there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if you walk through the sides, and a lot of times it just keeps on building up
Yeah, that's not.
on the side. I put mine in bags. They can do the same,
Mhm.
Yep. No, you're right.
Mhm.
So, and I've caught one or two companies in the past trying to dump their stuff in there. And
Really?
I told them, dudes, I got your license. I got this, I got that, I got that.
Huh.
Take it out and put it back in your truck. And they did. I haven't seen them
Put
ever
you on
since.
Patrol.
Yeah, well, I'm always there, or I do the cleanup with the bags,
Good.
and
Thank
maybe you can put rocks there. I don't know, extra rocks from somewhere.
We did pass no parking legislation.
You did?
We just need,
We just need to
I
get
don't know
signs.
why the signs never went up.
Yeah, and just to stop them from parking their cars there, because they all got driveways on the other side. I mean, it's not my problem if you got 10 cars.
I'll
Yeah.
forward it to me.
Yeah,
you
no,
know,
I think
but like,
that's who it is, not people. coming
No,
in.
it's the people
People
across.
who
Yeah,
just use an extra parking space.
right. They just come and they just,
Is it the same? I mean, not to get personal, but is it the same cars that are just left there?
no, it's the
several
same
days?
cars. They, it depends on the time of the day or the night or whatever, or it's convenient for them. They rather leave it there than in their own driveways, or they ran out of driveway space because they got too many cars.
so the town clerk will reach out to
Okay.
highway superintendent and find out what's going on with the sign since the legislation's already passed.
Yeah, there's only one sign that says no dumping way at the end. And the rest, there's a sign missing, it would help.
Well, you would assume people would know not to dump, like you
Yeah,
said, but I get you.
So those are the only points right there.
Thank you.
And, like I said, if you have a construction project and you got big rocks, because one side of the lane has rocks on that side, but this side doesn't. So it'd be nice to put them there.
Well, we'll start with the signs.
But yeah,
Yeah,
signs are good, but I prefer the rocks because you don't want to mess up your car.
Okay. Good point.
All right. Have a good night. Thank
Thank
you.
you so
buddy.
much.
Sir.
Anybody else here for public comment? No, then I'll make a motion to close out public comment.
You
All in favor?
don't want to say anything? No? All right.
Nobody? Okay.
All in favor?
All right.
So moved. All righty, let's move to number 2 then, of the town board matters. I'd like to bring up Reynolds Drive Trailside Estates at Somers Estates at Somers presentation. Ken Carney and his son Sean will come up here and make a presentation.
And Rich Williams.
And
And Rich Williams.
Oh, look at that. We're getting something up there. Cool.
Good evening. Good evening, Supervisor, Councilman, Town Clerk, Deputy Town Clerk, Counselor Barone over in the corner. Thank you for the privilege of appearing tonight. We're here to show some changes that we've made to our concept plan for the development, our latest development in Baldwin Place that we call Trailside Estates. Since our initial proposal, there's been three major changes, one of which is the layout. The layout we proposed last year was more linear in nature. We feel that this layout is more aesthetically pleasing. Sean and Rich did a good job, I think, in changing the units up and spreading them out. And I think it produced a much better product.
just be more specific. Tell me if you could. It looks like what I saw before, so obviously it's not. And what did change there? It makes it better.
I should just,
Yeah, I see.
can you see it?
Yeah.
Here, let me.
Yeah.
Kind of flows a little bit more, more angles.
Okay.
This is pretty linear.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, looks familiar.
Did you reduce the number of units or?
Yes. So the original plan had 79 units. We are now down to 76 units.
A little bit more about. Wow.
Can you see how this runs?
Yeah. Okay.
There it is on screen.
Rich, how many did you say was originally? 9?
79 to 76.
76.
It was originally 70. Well, last time we presented, it was 79 and now we're down to 76.
Okay.
The second change, which is significant, is the community center that we proposed. We've now enlarged that to 5,000 square feet. Community center is still connected to the rail trail, which from its inception, we're very excited about. I've asked, and I still haven't found one in New York State where there's a community facility connected to any of the rail trails as you go all the way up. This could possibly be the first of its kind in New York State. So Sean and Rich will talk more about the units and the community center. And the third is we've added a dog park. And Sean and Rich can talk a little bit more about that. But we listened to some of the concerns, and we're back in front of you tonight to hopefully further the discussion. So at this point, I'll turn it over to Sean.
Thanks. Good evening, Supervisor, members of the board. My name is Sean Carney of Carney Group. As my father mentioned, we made some significant changes, revisions to this concept plan. Primarily, not only did we stretch out the site plan and spread out the buildings, we revised the buildings to where now they only have 2 or 3 units, as opposed to the previous plan that had 4 and 5 units. The units themselves will be around 1,400 square foot footprint with about 1.5 stories each. And they won't be age restricted, but we're going to design them to be age oriented. So they're going to have first floor master bedrooms, 2-car garages, front backyard patios. It's going to fill, I think, a void in the market right now. And what we found at Hidden Meadow was there was a lot of Somers residents looking to downsize, but they needed that first floor master. We didn't have that at Hidden Meadow. I think we're going to accommodate those residents here, and we believe that's going to help open up a lot more opportunities for Somers families, because when those families downsize, now there's other opportunities for younger families that are looking to expand to now move into their homes.
Are they all with a master bedroom on the lower floor?
First floor, yep.
Of course.
Yes.
And they're all about 1,400 square feet.
The footprint.
So
So then there'll be another 800 to 900 square feet on the second floor.
So like 2,200 square
Yep.
feet.
Yes.
So we're talking about 2 and 3 bedrooms, is that?
2 and 3 bedrooms. Yes.
And 2 or 3 in each of the buildings.
Yes. And the other significant change, as my father mentioned, is enlarging the proposed community center. So this will be a 5,000 square foot community center, roughly 3,000 square foot footprint with a lower level. We'll have handicap accessible restrooms in the community center. There'll be an elevator, so the entire community center will be handicap accessible. It'll have a connection to a path that connects right to the rail trail, as well as parking in front of the community center and a connection to the dog park as well.
Sean, are you talking about garages in here as well?
Yeah, 2 car.
Did you say 2 car?
Each
garage?
unit
Did I
would have
miss
a
that?
2-car garage. Yes.
Sean, remind me how many acres is the total property?
It's 56.8.
Okay.
And of the 56.8, only 49 were.
Should we consider 20?
Almost 21.
We're conserving almost 21, but we're only building on 49, I believe. But Rich will get into the site a little more detailed than that. These will be very high-end finishes similar to Hidden Meadow with stone facade, hardy plank siding. We won't be using vinyl siding. They'll be extremely energy efficient. We don't envision using any fossil fuels for any of these units for their heating or cooling. And that's an overall of the updates. And I'd like to turn it over to Rich unless there's any
You
questions.
just said no carbon-based
Fossil fuels, yes.
So are these geothermal or it's solar or you got windmills?
So we're planning, our units are extremely energy efficient. So we're planning based on the insulation, the air sealing, our energy model. Right now, we're planning for air source heat pumps.
Okay.
We could look into, if this board would like us to, a renewable source like solar, geothermal. We just see that for sale units, it's a very high cost to pass on to the buyer. And these are very small lots to accommodate the geothermal, but we're happy to explore it. So I'd like to pass it over to Rich Williams from Insight Engineering to talk more about the background of the sites and the history.
Thanks, Sean. And good evening. As Sean said, my name is Rich Williams and I'm with Insight Engineering. We're the site civils. It was actually almost a year to the day we were last before you. Last year was February 3rd. And if you remember, I started talking about why we were before you, how we fit into Baldwin Place as a whole, because the town has really done a good job in reinvigorating Baldwin Place. And we see this as a next step to continue that innovation that's been happening. And then last, just touch on a couple more points about the site layout and how we've developed it. So we're before you tonight informally to present this project, but ultimately, if you are excited about this as we are, we would petition to come back for to have the MFR-BP zone applied to this site. So that's why we're before you tonight. We haven't yet filed that petition. That would come in the next steps. Again, we wanted to informally present the application and get your feedback. Relative to Baldwin Place, I know the town is aware you guys recently received an award from the Westchester Municipal Planning Federation for what happened with the Somers Realty Plan Hamlet and the innovation in zoning. When this started in 2009, and it really started with Sean and Ken and Muse One, that was the first development that happened in the planned hamlet. That was so successful that they then repeated the success with the Muse Two. And if you recall, shortly thereafter, Avalon Bay came in. And when we came before you for Avalon Bay, we had discussions with this board and the planning board because they were proposing something that the planned hamlet didn't envision, rental apartments. The planned hamlet had always wanted to see townhouses. So we spent some time discussing how that would fit into this community and whether or not it was the appropriate way to proceed. And at the time, the decision was made that it was, and I think Avalon has integrated into the community well. That then led to another development in the planned hamlet, Artis Senior Living, which is now complete and operational, and also a development across the street, which is where Sean and Ken now have their home offices, Crossroads. And what was unique about Crossroads is that was another mixed use development. We have the commercial in the front and residential in the back. We brought some great commercial spaces to Somers through that development. But what was really successful about that development was it brought two pieces of infrastructure that helped integrate that with the planned hamlet to make for a more cohesive Baldwin Place. And that was the sidewalks up and down Route 6, which your board pushed for, as well as the sewers. Right. And we were able to bring sewers up and down Route 6 to all those underdeveloped commercial properties with the hope of reinvigorating them. And so far that hasn't happened. And as I listened to presentations from our neighbors relative to other projects at the adjacent shopping center, one thing I heard was population is needed to help support our commercial growth. And what makes us really excited about these two pieces of property, and these are the last two pieces from that original Somers Realty tract, right? So when the planned hamlet was developed, these two pieces weren't included from that original tract, but they were envisioned for development. And they were envisioned as part of the planned hamlet through the creation of an access road that leads right to our property. And 950 feet of that road is constructed to item 4. It was done during Avalon. And what makes us excited is this is an opportunity to bring a different type of housing right into the core of Baldwin Place, next to those rental apartments, for sale, fee simple townhouses. As you heard Sean say a few minutes ago, based on their experience at Hidden Meadow, they're seeing a lot of empty nesters looking to stay in Somers and downsize. And where he stopped short of, that's actually stated in our master plan. Our master plan recognizes the need for townhouse development for an aging Somers population. And we feel that this is an absolute integral part to Baldwin Place to creating a diversification of housing and to be able to create a little bit more population mass. Now, as we look at the site itself, it's a unique piece of property because while we're directly linked to our adjacent neighbor, the shopping center and the planned hamlet, we also sit on our own isolated little island. We're tucked away. When you look at the property on the screen, you can see we have the bike trail, which is also our neighbor. And then we have our 50 plus acres of property, which sits isolated and not really visible to the surrounding communities, which offers us an opportunity to develop in a way where we're not impactful. And when Sean and Ken came to us and said, Insight, how should we look at developing this property? One of the first things that we did was we looked at where our environmental constraints are. There's a wetland finger that runs in the middle of the property, and surrounded by that is a horseshoe of developable area. And when we presented that to Sean and Ken, they looked at us and they said, we recognize that there's this horseshoe, but we're not touching the portion of the property that adjoins the bike trail. And
So Rich, just real quick, from the bike path to the units, about how far is it?
I believe it was several hundred feet.
Okay.
And to the other side of the property.
So what happens is, as you go along the bike trail sits in a ravine or a valley, and you have a steep slope up the side. That's the beginning of this property. Once from there, the property plateaus and then comes back down to a wetland in the middle, and then begins to rise on the far side of the property where we're developing.
It's all wooded.
And it's all wooded. So this property was originally orchards, particularly towards the northern end. The northern is on the right side of the page. And the southern ends had a little bit more of mature forest.
Can you just point to on that? What's the wetlands there? Where do you think the wetland is?
Sure. So on this plan here, it is this central core right here, and they have been delineated and survey located.
And so that map shows it a little bit more. So you got a couple hundred feet to the bike path in most instances, and really no other residential developments around it. I mean, the closest one to looking at that map to what I'll say the north of the map. Can I have you look at the right there? To the north of the map, that would be.
It was the other right.
That would be Avalon, or up to the top of the map would be Avalon.
Right. So
that's even farther.
So this is right here. And Scaling it really quickly, it's probably closer to 500 feet, 600.
All right. So
That's just me doing a quick
it's
scale.
almost a football field.
And up here, that in the upper right hand, that's Stop and Shop, I'm presuming.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So you're directly behind that.
So I didn't mean to interrupt.
And that
No.
road at the end there, that's the access egress that you were describing, that's
Right.
item 4.
Item 4 to about here.
And where's the actual egress of that road? Is that Mayapack Avenue or?
No, this road connects directly into the Plan Hamlet.
Into the plant?
So you know where the-
It's Clayton?
Yeah, you know where the park is? That
Yes.
surrounded with the playground equipment? That's basically a city block, and you come around and go up.
Right to the left of Avalon.
So it,
So they'll be coming out of, they'll be accessing this property through Route 6.
Well, not only, isn't that, I mean, it's basically Clayton Ways. You can get onto 118.
so this property would be accessed through Clayton Boulevard. And if you remember, Clayton Boulevard is a horseshoe now.
All right.
So it actually starts on Route 6 by the Chase Bank, comes up, makes a right-hand turn at Muse 1, comes through the Plan Hamlet and back to
Right.
6 at the traffic light for Crossroads.
So
That is all
six
town road.
only then.
So Route 6 only.
Down 118.
Clayton?
You can't go down 118.
How would you get to?
When I leave the Muse, Anthony, and I go to Brian Christie's house, I go down 118, I go down by Lincoln Hall, and I come, I go by Stop and Shop, and I go behind, and I exit out on 118. And then
So that's this road right here that goes behind Shopping Stop.
Where's
Stop
that?
and Shop.
Okay, okay.
Is that a road or is that just the back of a parking lot?
No, you can drive that.
That's the back.
But is that a back of a parking lot or is that a road?
It is not a town road. It is designed as a 2-lane traveled way, but it is owned by the shopping center.
Is that considered Clayton Boulevard?
No,
Still? That's
that
not-
piece is not.
No.
Okay.
So
But that could
Does
get
that
crowded
provide
back there.
traffic, sort of,
Well, I actually go in front of Stop and Shop.
yeah, I understand.
Behind.
I understand.
Go in front of it.
All right. Okay, got it.
So
But if you go down, if you come out of the Muse 1, you head down toward Route 6. Before you get to Route 6, there's a right-hand turn. Right? Yeah.
Mike.
Left, right, stand.
I'm sorry. You go behind what was the old Somers Bagels. You're heading toward Route 6.
Yes,
You make a right-hand turn. Okay.
yes.
And you continue straight. You can make a left to get on Route 6 real quick and then bear right if you're going down 118,
Understand.
or you can continue down and go by the stores and there's another exit.
Loop there.
Yes,
118.
that's what I do because I avoid the light. I'll sit down now.
So where we left off was leaving the portion of the property adjacent to the bike trail alone, which, you know, is a really responsible and respectful way to develop this property. There is developable property there, but being able to leave that forested and keep that forested connection to the bike trail, you know, is a very important part of this development. And it's going to help keep the bike trail away from us and us away from the bike trail. The next thing, and I'm just going to switch these boards again. It's easier if I'm looking at the same thing you are. The next thing we did was listen. You know, we heard feedback since presenting the last plan that it feels like an alley. It's too long, it's too linear, it's too straight. It just feels too utilitarian.
Narrow
And
and I guess fire department vehicles.
so, and I'll touch upon
Yeah, I
that.
hope you just touch on the safety aspects. I know we talked about that other road. You have to go over the bridge and there was another road there you could go across. So
All right, go ahead.
So, nope. So I'll jump right to there. So we do have an access that comes off our road network, which we would loop through and back to a cul-de-sac here.
Well, I'm sorry.
Say that again?
You're up here. What are you,
I'm just gonna switch.
I'm looking over here.
Blocking me.
So again, this is not rendered. The wetlands are a little clearer. We do have a path. So one, this is a full town road. We would build this to a town road spec, right? So you'd have a 24-foot wide road. It would be able to support a fire truck.
24 feet.
Yeah, we did see as an important part of this is developing a connection that comes through the site and back to the cul-de-sac over here. Now, I heard the word bridge.
wasn't there like an old bridge, I think? I remember looking at the,
I believe it's a culvert pipe.
okay.
So it looked like there used to be some sort of dam there at one point or impoundment that was part of the old orchards. It's not a bridge, but any type of access road we develop, this development's going to have to go before the Fire Prevention Bureau at one point. I've been there many times. A lot of our fire department are members, as well as our fire inspector. And we are going to have to assure to them that whatever road networks we use for fire access are going to have to meet state building code, which specifically gives us standards. We have to be able to support a vehicle of 80,000 pounds. It has to be a suitable surface material. And we will meet that with any access that we need to for fire.
So that's sort of like the back road there you're talking about.
We want to kind of have it feel more like a walking trail, but make it wide enough for fire access, just so there's a secondary point.
But would that only be used under emergencies, or that would be open all the time? Would people take that road to get out? Because if you're at the end of that, you're going to say, hey, what's the quickest way out of here?
No, we envision having gates up at either end.
Is the idea to have connections to the trail on the property?
The idea is
Cuts both ways.
by preserving almost 21 acres, we have an opportunity to introduce passive recreation into this community, right? When you live next to woods, you want to enjoy them. So by having a loop, that you can walk that connects through your road network gives people an opportunity to walk potentially through the woods. It also gives us an opportunity just to have a second point of ingress egress. We think that's important and, for safety.
So that'll be a dirt road though?
We envision it. Yeah. We don't want it to be paved. There's wetlands there. There would be DEP watercourse issues. We want it to feel very country. We want it to feel like you're walking through the woods.
But it has to be plowable.
It does. So it would probably be some type of item for gravel surface that would meet fire code requirements.
Yeah.
So when you go up to the circle, the fire truck can get around that circle also.
Yes.
There's enough radius.
Yes. Yeah, that's all. But yeah, we have to be able to do that.
And is that cul-de-sac there in the front, is that built that way basically to have access to the road that you're talking about?
And also to be able to turn trucks around, buses, vehicles. We think a little, we have to think beyond just fire trucks. I mean, we'll have moving trucks at some point, depending on where the bus stops get arranged. We want to be able to maneuver a wide variety of vehicles through this site.
Okay.
Give me a reference point, a 24-foot road. Is that Clayton Avenue?
Mhm.
That's 24 feet?
That's your standard town road spec. Yep.
And what part do you actually own up to? So I can see the bike trail. And then there's a couple of lines that are parallel to it. Do you own it up to the bike trail, 10 feet shy of the bike trail, and then the county takes over?
So there is a small right of way that surrounds the bike trail. I'd have to dimension it off the plans, but tens of feet.
Tens of feet.
So basically, if you've ever walked that part of the bike trail, the slope goes up and then plateaus.
Mhm.
Our property line is near the top of the plateau.
So the southern part of this property, is that the Borelli property?
They do adjoin us to the south,
This is yours to the south.
Where's the south?
That's the
Left
Green
side.
Tree.
the left side of the page.
Oh, that's a Green Tree Road access. Okay.
Yeah.
That's where they're looking to put the 3 houses.
So where I left off was,
That's Green Tree right there. Right?
Yeah.
Getting real close to it. Yeah.
Oh.
so where we left off was the preservation of 21 acres in the conservation area. The second thing we heard, as I mentioned, was that long linear nature. And this is an area where Sean pushed me pretty hard. We heard the comments and he said, we have to do better. And we went back and forth a lot on different ways to arrange layouts, different ways to cluster units. He kept getting pushback from me because every time we started to look at layouts like this, I said, Sean, it's more pavement, more cost, more utilities. But he said, we got to do it right. And what we've come up with, I think really, really gets there and creates a more special type of townhouse community. By using smaller clusters of units of 2s and 3s, by creating spur roads off of a main road, you almost start to create a cul-de-sac feel with a little bit more privacy. It creates a little bit more of an enjoyable experience for those townhouses, as opposed to feeling like you're in a city street or row like we had previously. So, we're really excited about this layout. We're really excited, about some of the things he mentioned, like first floor masters. We found it interesting that the actual market studies that they're seeing with who's looking to move here really aligns with the goals of the master plan, with focusing on seniors downsizing and needing this type of housing in our community.
So Rich, we've turned the houses vertically. You're calling them cul-de-sacs, or those like?
They're not actual cul-de-sacs, they're spurs. Right. So people will be able to turn into their driveways. They'll have their 2-car garage. They'll have their private driveway. we're being sensitive to not wanting to add more pavement than we have to. Right.
And more space is more
But,
fun.
but,
I know it's more cost.
yeah, but this creates, I think, a much better, much more open layout. It's not as tight. It's not as utilitarian.
Are they all off of spurs? Are all the units or most of the units or some of the units?
Most of them,
Hard to tell here.
we have a couple of clusters down here on this lower side.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
We have one here. And then towards the end, we have a couple.
Why don't you turn those as well?
We can look at it. I'm not going to promise because there's things like slopes, wetland buffers, things we're trying to not impact on the site. We do, in order to minimize impacts to buffers and wetlands, we do have a narrow strip we're working in, and we want to try and respect that as much as possible.
Yeah, all right. Fine.
Some of the other changes is, as we've mentioned, just to repeat, community center, right, was 3,000 square feet. Now it'll be 5,000 square feet, built by Sean and Ken. Dog park. We heard that people were interested in seeing a dog park in this part of the community. So we've added that to the plan. We're hopeful that we will be able to work with our neighbors to potentially create some sort of connection directly to the shopping center in the vicinity of the dog park. Again, we have to work with our neighbors on this, but we think it would be a good planning goal. So we're going to try and do that. But we're very excited to be back here. We've spent a lot of time looking at this plan, looking at ways to improve it based on some of the feedback we heard in the community. We hope you feel the same way. And I'll turn it back to Ken.
Let me ask you a couple of questions first, though.
I thought I was going to get off the hook.
No. So the community center would be, you would give it, donate or whatever we call it, to the town, and the dog park also. So just a general concern I would have, and if you haven't spoken to the rec board or anybody in the recreation department or the superintendent of recreation about this?
In October of 2021, I visited the current senior center down there, and I spoke to Barbara, and we just exchanged ideas. What if, but that was it.
Okay. Because if that would be the recreation department or the parks department that would have to man these. So I would think I would want to know what they think before I would make any decisions. The other general concern is, I don't know if you thought about this, would it be the impression? I know that you have a lot of units up there, and originally you said this would be very good for those units because they have a place to go. If I go up there, I'm your targeted demographic, I think. I go up there, I want to know, hey, do you got any gym space? You got anything I could use? In addition, New York Sports Club is right there. But that would be the town that would have to man those, right?
That's my understanding. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I'm sure that they would have a concern because they say, well, okay, we don't work on work weekends right now. There's going to be a weekend thing. So there's other ramifications here we would have to take into consideration, I would imagine, on this. And would there be a general impression of people, this was built for there, not for the rest of Somers? It's not really your problem, but it's something we don't want to have people know, believe, or have any reason to think. Right.
Councilman, that's a good point. I'll tell you my thoughts as somebody who spent so much time in Baldwin Place. Does this community center solve all the needs of the entire town? No. But while you continue to possibly look for another site, this will be up and running. I believe its uniqueness because of its location to that rail trail. I don't believe other parts of town have that opportunity to access that asset. And I think that once people find out about this community center, I think it's going to be more popular than people imagine for a couple of reasons. One, the rail trail, and two, that is a very, very active shopping center, very active. I'm there almost every day. And I think as people, even if they don't live in that area, the people who go shopping there will get inclined to use this community center. It's unique. It's the first of its kind on a rail trail. So I think to have a 5,000 square foot community center in an area, in one of the densest areas of the town, where you have approximately 400 rental units, you have a large senior population, you have some of your mod and low income population within walking distance. I think it's an ideal location for it, because what I've been told is that you have people, seniors, who don't come over here are finding their way into the one across from the diner that's run by Putnam County.
And is there a concern that would work the other way? Is that I'm just thinking, so you have that little parking lot by the shopping center right near the pizzeria place. And, you know, that's often filled. And then they have overflow parking down in the shopping center where that little sign down there.
Mhm.
So obviously in the spring and fall, very popular. Is there a concern by you, or should there be a concern by us that this will then be, oh, you go on the right, oh, you go up to Somers and now we're having overflow up there. Is that something you thought about?
Yes, we thought about it on the rail side. On the rail side, we're going to do it in a way where there will be some type of obviously signage, but also some type of gate. We don't want to lock it, but if it's manned by the Somers, as you say, during operations, it can be locked if you want to. But I don't think people who are not from the town of Somers are going to feel welcome to go up that trail and go and use this community center. Do I think people are going to go there? Let's say I don't live in the town of Somers. Am I going to go there and park there and go into the building to access the rail from there? I think I don't know.
And we have to think
It's
about
one,
it.
I understand, Councilman, but it's one thing to park in a parking lot, right? To get out of your car and access a rail trail, as opposed to actually having to go inside a building. It's a different dynamic, I think.
One of the things I just want to touch on with that, because we haven't talked a lot about how this community center fits in with the topography, as well as the actual connection to the rail trail. When I use the rail trail and I go to Jilco or I go up to Stop and Shop, it's a short distance to walk with my kids, with all the bikes, with everything else. In this instance, there is a grade change. I'm going to try and zoom in and see.
Can I ask you that? What is the slope coming from the community center on the bottom floor down to the trail?
Yeah, great point. And great pickup. So the first thing is you're going to enter the community center on the first floor, but we envision it needing to have a walkout lower level.
Yeah.
From there, you still have a pretty substantial topographic difference between the actual elevation of the rail trail and the community center. And you can see we do have somewhat of a long path to get there. That was done on purpose because there is a water course or standing water here that we want to avoid and be respectful of. And that also gives us a little bit more length to try and, to your point, not go straight up the grade, but make it more of a meandering path. We haven't designed the final grade of that path. And just being fully candid, we're going to try and target somewhere around 5%, which is not a very rough grade.
I
But
just figured since you have seniors who are walking that, right?
that's one of the points.
You got to be able to get up and down.
Yep.
Without having a big steep slope.
You're absolutely right.
Then Rich to check it out.
But, one of the things that we're thinking about is there's much more. There's much more convenient access points to the rail trail, where if you want instant access to jump on and off, this wouldn't be the place you want to go.
Let me ask you another question. You say it's a unique, you don't know of another one in New York State along the trail. And now it's the Empire Trail. I think you can go all the way from New York City or the northern, there's Yonkers all the way to Buffalo, I think, on this trail. Isn't that correct? If they're all connected?
I couldn't make it that far. I barely make it down.
But all right, so it's unique is what I'm saying.
Yes.
Do you know of it that they are or are not? Either way, because of its location, that there are grants that would support this as we would have to run it if it happens? Or is it something we should have our grant writer investigate?
I think so. And I think that,
You think they are, or we should have our grant writer investigate?
well, I'm not going to, let me give you an example. we have a state senator who's very good at accessing grants. I know myself on a different issue, Putnam Hospital, where my grandchildren were born, they shut the maternity center down. I was asked to get involved to help raise the money, and we've done that. And we have the grand opening this Tuesday. And the bulk of the money came from Senator Harckham. He was able to get a $500,000 grant from New York State for that worthwhile endeavor. So the senator, I believe, I'm not speaking for him, I haven't spoken to him about this, but I would think that he would embrace something like this for a couple of reasons. One, the rail trail. But again, it's the story of Baldwin Place. It's the story of the planned hamlet, how it grew organically, right? We started with one affordable senior housing phase. It was well received. And I said, do you want to do it again? They said, well, it'll look like this. I said, it'll look better. And we did one. And we tried a different model down the street with Hidden Meadow. And then we tried something else across the street. What we built is an area where it's a walkable community, as Rich says, and everything about this is going to be walkable. The people who live here are going to live here because they're going to want to walk everywhere. All my wife does is have me out walking. That's all we do is walk, walk, walk.
Did you drive tonight? Or
No. Yeah, she's outside with the chariot. But I think, back to your question, I can't guarantee it, but I would think that there are ongoing grants to operate it. I've never accessed grants like that. I've accessed capital grants,
Right.
but not speaking for him, but I think we have a senator who is very active and knows how to access things like that, by evidence by his support of the Putnam Hospital Maternity Board.
Right. I mean, those member items, of course, that's an efficient way of doing it. We've got some here in town, courtesy of Senator Harckham and some of the others who've been in position to do it. But I was thinking actually of the state, which the Parks Department or others that perhaps, because of the uniqueness of this, as you say, they say, oh, we definitely want to support that along all these. Yeah, we will kick in. That's what I'm thinking of as a little different avenue, but I understand what you're saying.
I don't know if I think she still might be there, a former supervisor of Yorktown, Linda Cooper. Linda was the regional director of New York State Parks and for our region. I haven't seen her in probably 3, 4, 5 years, but she would definitely be one to answer that. But I would think that would be a very attractive and reasonable request. But I'm not experienced in accessing those type of funds.
That's why we have a grant writer.
Right. I'm good at getting other funds, but
That's jumping the gun.
maybe.
She still is. Director of New York State Office of Parks.
She is.
Yep.
Linda is, she's former supervisor of Yorktown. Again, I'm not speaking for her. We actually did. I actually did my first big development with her across from Lakeland High School, Wynwood Oaks. She's a big supporter of the seniors. But Rich, this is going to be very popular, and it's going to be very popular first with all the tenants who live there. You have Avalon. You have 164 units, and we have another 250 units between Muse 1, Muse 2, Crossroads. I don't think I counted all of Hidden Meadow. It's this, you got 400, 500 units right there. And I think, and then you add this, I think this is going to be very popular.
So Ken, just from what goes on there, you have rec centers in the Muse, each one of the Muse buildings. Avalon has a pool, and they have, sort of rec centers there. And they have the park over there, we were just talking about. I mean, what's the movement of people? What are they looking to do? I mean, how well are those facilities being used from your perspective?
They want to walk. I look out my window, I face the back in Crossroads Plaza, and there's a half a dozen of the seniors every day. They're just walking the parking lot because they want to walk. They don't walk the sidewalks. They just want to walk. I think the seniors will walk. And what we're doing here, we're going to make it easy for them to walk. I'm lazy by nature when it comes to walking. Okay. What we're going to do is on the lower level, when you get down there, we're going to have an area with foot lockers to make it very convenient for people to leave your shoes there. If you leave your shoes there, you're going to go back again. All right. So a senior can go there, buy a special pair of shoes, leave it in a Foot Locker, and all of her girlfriends and boyfriends say, come on, let's go for a walk. And it's a thing, right? It's an experience. And you go down there and you change your shoes and you go. And I think by doing that, we're going to encourage it. So if you ask me what I see, Anthony, I would say that I see people want to walk more. And I think in spring and summertime, you definitely see it. But I don't, and I don't know how many of the residents right now access the rail trail. I couldn't say that for certain. I'm sure some do, but we'll encourage them. On the community center, listen, we've never built a community center before, but there's a lot of things we haven't done before. And since Sean came in, he's got me building breweries and skyscrapers and everything else. But with the community center, there's a lot of good faith. There's good faith on both sides. When I came in front of this board for the first time 15 years ago, there was a lot of good faith. There was a lot of unknowns. And I was doing something in town that had never been done before.
Can you back up for a second? Breweries, did you say?
You want one of those, Tony?
But I think in this case, there's a lot of good faith. And as things go, as they evolve, Councilman, as they evolve, it's never going to be, well, you didn't tell me that, or we didn't. This is part of my legacy. This Baldwin Place is my second home. And so this is part of who we are. And this is going to work. This is going to be very successful. And we're excited.
Yeah, if it does come to fruition, I understand your point. And walking, you don't have to be too smart. You read the Wall Street Journal, you read anything about tendencies, market tendencies in housing. One of the things is walkability at any age, and to mass transportation. And you have a line 8 on the train line, but you got the bus line there. So I understand that. I suppose my questions are not made to be argumentative.
No, they never are.
There to explore fully, which is our responsibility.
That's correct.
Which is the ongoing cost and how the parks are going to handle that. What would be the impact on the budget, the impact on taxpayers, and does it benefit the whole town? All your arguments are certainly make sense. We have to make sure that they all fit together.
What,
these are all fee simple, by the way.
Right. Yes. You did mention that.
Just like
we heard that.
Just like Hidden Meadow.
Seem to recall.
We heard that first.
I know this is a difficult question, but the price point in terms of,
What are we on? 750? Yeah, around 750.
7s to 8s.
All right. Similar to what's south of here, maybe a little bit south of that.
Well, I mean, Hidden Meadow, the first unit started in the high 5s. And then as we went further back and more upgrades, they're in the mid 6s.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
What did,
But the price, price of poker went up in the last 2 years too, with the supply chain issues.
Okay.
But don't cry for me, Argentina.
very much so, huh? Did you talk about sewers at all tonight, or you just what you were thinking?
Here's what I'm thinking. If I could go to the
You
board.
did this before with us, but since you're going over it,
This, I want to zoom out. Yeah.
All
All right. This lot,
Get them.
Ken, speak into the microphone right
You get
there.
it.
No, right in front of you, right.
This guy.
The other side. Okay.
Yeah,
Sometimes
it slides out.
Try that one.
It's nice.
All right. Rich, where is the lot line? This is made up of 2 lots. Can you show me something? All right. So is this the lot line back here, Rich? Here we go. So this lot here if you look at the county sewer and water maps or the county maps, show this as being in the county sewer district, and this is not. Now,
Where's that line?
right here,
Got
right
it.
here. So my approach is this. A good portion of this lot is being donated to the town for a community center, which is also going to benefit. Remember, the county is a major partner in Muse 1, Muse 2, Crossroads, and Hidden Meadow,
Mhm.
and they continue to be a partner. And I believe that they,
So are we.
yes, no doubt. And I believe that they would support having this join the sewer district in exchange for donating property that's in the sewer district now and for the community benefit of the community center.
I have a quick question on the community center. Parking there. How much parking is there, right? People traveling, coming there to this new community center. What's the ample amount of parking that you guys have laid out for them?
How much do you need?
Good question.
Supervisor, I'm serious.
No.
As we go
Good
along,
answer.
yeah, but as this goes along, that's where the good faith comes in. I mean, you might come back to us and say, Ken, Sean, Rich, we want to store those buses, right? Maybe some buses there or whatever. So this is going to evolve, and it's a matter of dialogue and good faith. Yeah.
Along the lines of parking, Ken, Rich, within the development itself, what do you do for visitor parking, and what are the thoughts there?
So as we evolve this plan, we're going to be adding visitor parking. It's something that's important to us. We wanted to get this concept to you with the rearranged layout just to get your feedback. We heard your feedback last time with the linear one, and we wanted to show that, we heard you loud and clear. Your code, I believe, dictates a certain amount of visitor parking. We'll make sure we meet the code. And then we're probably going to take our experiences at Hidden Meadow and make sure we incorporate what, real life market is telling us.
Does your experience in Hidden Meadow say that the practical nature, the empirical right in front of you is greater than the town code, or the town code covers whatever it is? You happen to know?
We're doing okay.
Yeah, so far we haven't had an issue. Now, we're not fully sold and occupied, but it's very rare that the visitor parking is anywhere near
And
capacity.
that's town code that thus far has been sufficient.
I believe Hidden Meadow is town code.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, the one good thing, if someone's a great big party, there's a lot of,
And each townhome has a 2-car garage plus a driveway, where Hidden Meadow is only a 1-car garage.
And it's age orientated. It's age orientated.
those people are crazy, those older people. Are you kidding?
But
Party Central.
I know, but at some point they start to go down to 2 car, down to 1 car as well. There's any questions? My thought was, or if I could respectfully request, what we were hoping for is if to our attorney, Charlie Montalbano, cannot be here tonight. He has not submitted anything formal. He's not submitted any petitions to the town. We would like to have him formally submit petitions relating to the sewer district, the water district, the zoning, and I'll defer to your counselor. And also, I would then have conversations with the county, with your blessing.
You have not had those conversations
No,
with planning regarding the sewer, the water, and all that stuff. Yeah. So you don't, okay.
I expect a very positive response. Like I said, Councilman, the county views it that the town of Somers and the county and us was a great partnership. It worked. As been pointed out, this town produced close to 1/3 of all the units that were needed for the housing settlement. And most of them are all within walking distance of this area.
Does this add to our affordable housing total?
There will be, that's a conversation that I do believe that because of the proximity of this community center and this community benefit and who it's who it's primarily going to serve or in close proximity is your moderate and low senior population. So I believe there could be, but that's as things evolve. So that's what, I'm not seeking anything formal. That's all we're seeking tonight. If we can tell Charlie to submit or get with your counselor, submit petitions, and I'll start to have discussions.
Yeah, I spoke with Mr. Martabano today, and if
How
the
long
board,
was the conversation? Just kidding.
if the board so chooses, the next step would be the submission of a petition and the petitions for sewer and water, as well as a long form EAF. And at that point, the town board would be in a position to consider lead agency designation and to do the required referrals to both your local planning board and to the county planning board.
Roland, say that
There's,
was-
there's nothing you would do tonight.
Yes.
There's only one.
Roland, we would also submit a long form environmental assessment form so that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Roland. I don't want to.
No, he agreed with you.
So that you would declare lead agency to send out referrals to the various agencies, including Westchester Planning and your other town agencies, town boards.
Correct.
Well, here's the thing. I would certainly want to know their input. And if that's how we get it, fine. I just, sometimes you start something rolling, you go, whoa. And, there's so many things to consider on this. I don't want to give I'm sure nobody wants to give okay. I know that's what you would want. Of course. You were here, let me see, 364 days ago. Yes. So, I'm sure that's what you'd want. Now you have a new plan. That's just my concern. So Roland, what do you think we should do? Anything?
Not tonight.
You gonna do anything tonight, Roland?
Well, you don't have to do anything tonight, but the next step would be for you to receive a petition and the other documents that we just spoke of. But if you're not ready to receive them, you should let the applicant know.
So I think that, listen, I think that we need to have a conversation. And I think there's a lot of things that have changed since the last time that you guys were here 364 days ago. Actually, good point. And there's a lot of things that are down the pipe that are happening here, as we know, in environmental stuff or the environment with budgets and all that kind of stuff, and state budgets, what are happening. I'm kind of just getting the impression that I think everybody just wants to sit back and see where this goes, and then, but we still need to have a little bit more of a conversation to see on this, and I think at this moment right now, I don't think we're ready at this time frame to go through some of the other stuff. But I think once we have some more information and more understanding about where we're headed with the state budget, I think we may be ready to move if in some time.
And Rob, that's not that far from now.
It's not that far from either. That's
April 1st.
April 1st. And I think once we understand that, we'll have a better understanding. And I think you laying out what you did tonight gives us a clearer picture and a better understanding of where you guys are and what you guys are thinking. And I would just say as I've had other things or other conversations, to let us have this February and March to assess what's going on. And then I think you'll have sort of your answer by then.
That's great. Appreciate it. And we, of course, we recognize, as always, we move forward at our own risk. If we engage the council to submit the petitions, and that's at our own.
Would you be getting ahead of yourselves by talking to the state, to the county about? Hey,
I'm not going to do that until.
Okay.
I'm going to wait.
Got it.
I appreciate it.
I'm going to wait. And I was asked last February, I think it came across loud and clear.
I mean, 364 days, what's another 60?
Right. But as I, if you knew my athletic career, I spent a lot of time on the bench. So I'm used to this. You understand? I wasn't on the field a lot like yourself, Mr. Clinch. But again, thank you for the privilege of appearing before you tonight, and
Thank you.
we'll stay in touch.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Guys for coming.
We enjoyed the details and we like when they're accurate, and they were.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh.
You know, I know.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, that's. Yeah, no.
Well, that's,
Oh, you did?
I mean, it's.
I think this is.
Oh, I know.
To the earlier point.
Yeah, what if-
There's.
Oh, you know, they should-
They
They should have explained that.
I should have gone into our quota. We will.
All righty, let's move on here. Patty, we're gonna do an add-on here for tonight. A proposed addition to our town code. I'd like to make a motion to schedule a public hearing to define transit here for our March 9th meeting. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Okay, number 3 here, new building fee structure. I'd like to bring up Tom Tuma, head of our building department, to talk a little bit about the new building fee structure, please. Right up there, Tom.
Yes, yes.
Hello. For those who don't know me, Tom Tuma, Building Inspector, Town of Somers. A proposed adjusted fee schedule was distributed. The changes that were proposed are based upon a theory of what's involved time-wise with different types of building permits. To summarize it, you'll see some proposed permit fees for inspections we're currently doing that are not accompanied with a permit. And they're laid out on the first 2 pages. And these inspections that we're performing are required by New York State. These haven't been in, there's no fee associated on the current fee schedule, which is dated 2012. And I'm proposing to add them to a successor fee schedule.
So just so I understand, in the current state, we're performing the work. There's just no fee associated.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Yes.
so Tom, look, one thing that struck me when I read your note is that you have a fee structure right now that has plumbing permits and building permits separate. You're talking about combining them.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you? Does it create less work? What does that make it more efficient?
It's more in
How will
tune.
that be received?
It's more in tune with our code. It says if you're doing work which requires to meet code, you need a building permit. Some municipalities structure their different aspects of the code in separate permits. I want to do a building permit. If it entails it'll right now we have a separate plumbing fee schedule. I want to incorporate that into our building permit fee schedule. The building permit will cover plumbing, mechanical, fuel, gas, all the different types of codes that we need that we work with. It won't be a separate plumbing permit. So it'll
simplify things.
It will initially, no, because we have to change up a lot of our applications, but down the road it will.
Beyond, yes.
Well, but what up front? I mean, does it reduce the frequency of work that you have to do, or does it make it easier for
These proposed changes don't touch on that whatsoever. The plumbing permit fees that we currently have incorporate HVAC and generators and different items that really aren't associated with plumbing. So I want to take that out and just put it into a building permit and then identify what's being done with the project, be it mechanical work or plumbing work or electrical work.
But what does that, yeah, this is hard. I'm not an expert at this, but what does that mean? You know, you have small projects, you have large projects. You have building fees that you kind of talk about at $1,000, $800,000 to $1 million. And you're assessing all these fees. Now you're going to combine them. What does that mean to me who I want to put in a water heater?
It's that fee is not going to change. The form is going to change. It's not going to be a plumbing permit. It's going to be a building permit. And it's going to be affiliated with plumbing because the water heater has to do with plumbing.
Fee structure, right? Based on cost versus on,
well, so
based on construction cost versus, like a flat fee.
The current,
Put in a water heater.
the current fee schedule, do you have it in front of you?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
I'm not an expert.
So the current fee schedule basically is based on estimated cost of construction for whatever items are not identified at the back of the schedule. Those items include alterations, additions. Actually, no, the alterations are based on cost of construction. Additions and new building is based on a price per square foot. Then it goes on to say sheds of a certain size are one price, and if you exceed that size, it's another price. This my proposal actually, I feel that price is on the high side. The proposal reduces the cost of a shed permit.
So in essence,
shed
you've
permit.
gone through our fee structure and there is a few things that you've altered and changed to be beneficial for residents. But also there's some stuff that's beneficial for the town as well, because, there's some fee structures that were either overplaced or undervalued, right? So you brought everything basically to what the surrounding areas are doing and made it more uniform and be able to handle that and track it and make it a little bit more streamlined for your department.
Yeah, the thought process behind the changes were structure the fees based on what's time it takes to that's involved in different projects.
I mean, ultimately, the costs are not changing that much. It's just how you receive them. I mean, there's in a couple, in many instances, the town was well below what other towns were doing, as we've shown here. And in some instances where we were using cost of construction already, even though in some cases might have said per square foot. So we're changing it. And again, I, much like Tony said, I'm not an expert at it at all. But it should be minimal impact to the residents and to developers. It's just that we need to change with times. In some cases, we had some fees that were zero and other places are charging 200. So we're going to say, hey, let's charge 100 because we are doing work on it. And every time we have to look at it, somebody in your office has to do some work on it.
Correct. And
So-
there is a comparison in the packet that you have, and
discrepancies and making them sure there weren't discrepancies.
right.
So just high level, I mean, this increases the feature. I mean, you're doubling some of the fees, whatever. I mean, I get it. That's not really maybe twice as much, going from 100 to 200. But when you compare it to neighbors, that's what's going on.
Yeah, and it's not even that impactful. It's the only thing that's proposed to be raised on the overall building permit fee is just the zoning portion of that. currently, and for as long as I can remember, you have your number associated with an estimate with a number, the fee number associated with an estimated cost of construction number. There's always been a $10 zoning fee added to that. And that's the zoning review process as part of the entire application. And it's much more involved. I'm proposing to bring that $10 fee up to $25, making it a $15 increase.
So at the highest level, I mean, you're billing maybe 300, your budget calls $330,000 in fee revenue.
He says it, but he has
$2,000. This goes up 10% in square foot.
I'm not quite sure because you'll see a reduction on permit renewals. It's been a controversial item over the years when someone can't complete a project within the 1 year time frame of the validity of the building permit, and they have to go for a renewal. Now the past practice has been, and it's written in code. It's
percentage completion.
yes.
How are you going to determine that? You can take
That would be
for it.
no, that would be it's defined where you're at on a project, whether your building is framed or whether your building has been framed and roughed with mechanicals, or or the building's up to paint stage.
So they're going to take another visit by you, more work.
Yeah, it will. But you know what? The more times you get to visit a job to have a look at it during its building is a good thing.
Just generally speaking, how often are you have like that big matrix there that goes from $1,000 to $900,000.
Mhm.
What falls into that matrix? Give me an example at the low end. Give me an example at the high end.
Pretty much everything except for a project that's over $1 million.
So if I come in with a replacement for a water heater and I have to do some construction around it and do that, does that fall into the fee for $150 or whatever that is? Or does that fall into that matrix?
Well, what type of alteration would you be reconfiguring the space to make it larger?
Yeah, let's say
you'd be altering. You'd be doing an alteration. That's what actually helps about this. I could do a permit for the water heater and incorporate the alteration under one building permit.
Right.
Is the overall purpose of this to simplify it or to bring fees more in line with neighboring towns?
No, it's more to bring it more in line with what the state requires. New York State says if you doing work that needs to conform to our codes, you need a building permit. So you should have a building permit for everything.
Don't we?
We do. Well, there's a couple additions here. We have basically, yes, but there's a couple things here that we're currently not charging a fee for and generating inspections.
A re-roofing fee? Is it?
That doesn't exist, but New York State says a permit's required for re-roofing because it requires to meet certain criteria.
So a roofer comes to my house
Mhm.
and either takes down or puts a second layer on. There has to be a fee for that.
There's a permit required for re-roofing.
And someone has to go and then inspect it? Is that what
Yes.
happens?
Yeah.
And a temporary CO fee, a hardship fee? What is a hardship fee?
No, that's for discussion. Hardship fee would be if a permit were required to do remediation from a
tree falls on the
person.
house. That's a hardship.
Well, it was put in there to see how the board felt about it. The thought process behind that was if we had a cold spell. Recently, we had one around Christmas time, and some of these commercial establishments that we have in town had some frozen pipes. And then the cold spell broke and the pipe started leaking and it did significant damage. So rather than the permits required for the remediation and whatever repairs are necessary to make that building habitable again, rather than base that building permit fee on estimated cost of that work that needs to be done, I'd like to lower that to something, where the permit fee wouldn't be so burdensome upon the people that have
Unexpected.
it. Yeah.
Sounds
But
good.
in your example, you replace a roof, it costs you $20,000. That falls in the building permit. Is that an alteration? Or is that-
There's a set fee for re-roofing permits. And again,
If it's a set fee, it doesn't fall into that schedule.
it wouldn't fall into estimated cost of construction. The fee wouldn't be applied for a re-roofing permit based on
So that
estimated.
overrides the,
Well, that one particular item does.
that one particular item.
Yes.
But if it's an alteration, you go to that schedule.
Yeah, new construction, alterations, additions.
When in doubt, the building department will tell the people which one they have
I'm
to
just trying to understand that.
set in file.
Just one other quick question. Cost, the cost of construction. How do you get that? I mean, it's sort of a settled
Well,
amount with you and the builder. I mean, are you asking for documentation? I mean, what is it?
it's a combination of both of those items.
And how much work does that impact your organization to maintain that convention?
To determine a building permit fee
Yeah.
and not have it be
Be a point of contention.
yeah. It's all I hear all the time is, wow, your town's relatively low compared to these towns other towns that I work in. And I there hasn't really been any contention other than the renewal, if the project takes over a year and somebody has to renew their permit. Why do I have to pay the original building permit fee when my project's 90% complete? You did your permit, you did your review, you did your permit, you did 90% of your inspections. You got to come back one more time and do a final. That's all that's entailed. And I have to pay 100% of the
So
original.
that's why you've changed it.
Yes.
And that's, How, just to educate me, so the current fee on a new house, $150 per square foot,
Yeah.
proposes cost of construction. How does that affect, what happens there? What is that?
Well,
that Anthony was saying.
this schedule, the present schedule is dated 2012. So I guess this one superseded a prior one. I would say in 2012, maybe the cost of additions at the $150 price was the actual cost or thereabouts. Today, it's you could spend $150 a square foot on just putting a deck on your house.
Yeah.
So when you say cost of construction, you mean how much money was spent per square foot?
What's it going to cost you to build what you're proposing?
Per square foot.
Retail price.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, exactly. Not like
In totality.
Okay.
But
cost of goods.
cost of construction per square foot. So 2,000 square foot, cost of construction, divided out, that becomes it?
The estimated cost of construction?
Yeah.
No,
No.
no, it doesn't. There's different types of construction. You could build bare bones or you could build elite. So you look at the plans, what's being proposed, and you speak with the applicant. What they'll give you what it's going to cost them to build the house out. They already got estimates for material and estimates for labor.
Yeah.
That's where it begins. And then you start looking at it. If I question whether they're on the low side or the high side, we work on it from there.
Said that in the meeting.
Rather than just the flat 150.
Right. Again, I don't feel that's fair because you could put everything into all the fancy things into a building, or you could go just with the basics. And if that person who's putting all the basics in is being charged the same fee as the higher end building construction, I don't see that it's a fair deal that way.
Just an activity question. I'm looking at the matrix. It goes from 1,000 to 900. In terms of the work activity over a year, just generally, is most of the activity at the lower end of that chart, Or at the upper end of that chart.
It's all over.
It's all over, but
Yeah.
frequency, it's, it's not high or lower. You have, in terms of the frequency of applications. It's coming before you. Are they mostly at the lower end or the higher end? If you just don't know, you don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks.
Thanks, Tommy. So listen, I'm gonna make a motion to move to the consensus agenda for
We just moved it.
Yeah, just move
just
it.
move it.
We don't need to vote on it.
Yeah, move to the consent to adopt the fees on March.
I know you like making your.
Is
Does any of this require public notice or anything like that?
That's a good
These-
question. Yeah.
Roland?
If these fees are in the code, it would require a public hearing. Are they
Just a-
not?
Just a resolution.
Just a resolution? Okay, so then you could do it in March.
So points to an appendix, is that?
No, we can do it next meeting.
Next meeting.
Next
Or
meeting.
even next meeting, yeah.
All right, so we'll do it next meeting.
Okay.
All right. I think a second.
Agenda.
I'll
Good.
There we go. All right, let's move. There we go. Sorry. It's a long night, long day. All right, number 4, Patty, I'm going to take that off here. We were hoping.
Tom, thanks for stopping
I'm here from the
in.
fire
Thanks,
prevention,
Tom. Thank
so, we're going to take that off, okay? We'll put that on hopefully for next week or in March.
Oh.
Number 5, refer request for stop signs at various locations in Shenorock. I'd like to make a motion for the stop signs at various locations in Shenorock.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Number 6 here, refer request for temporary speed bumps to be installed at the recreation area by Lake Shenorock. I'd like to make a motion for that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Okay. No Parks and Rec, no financial, no highway, personnel here. The Assessment Board of Review. I'd like to make a motion to appoint Robert Costelli to that term.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Partners in Prevention. I'd like to make a motion to reappoint Patricia Otis.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. And that is for the 2025. And then for the Planning Board here, I'd like to make a motion to reappoint Bruce Prince to the Planning Board.
Second.
What are you looking?
All in
Those two,
favor?
hold on one second. Those two we just added.
Just added those.
It's not on.
Just added those. Sorry. Just added on. I'm
Not on the
killing.
agenda.
I'm killing.
Uh-oh.
She's like, what's going on?
Tony and I, between you and Patty.
Judith jumped over here. He's
Here's
moving.
your Otis, Bruce Prince.
And Robert Costelli.
Thank you.
I will give you all the information.
That's awesome.
Perfect. Oh, I didn't
She only has to publish it.
I didn't get a second to reappoint Bruce Prince.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. So moved. There are some upcoming vacancies. If you are interested in serving on one of our
Guys, can
boards.
you, Tommy, can you
Tommy,
bring it out or
yeah.
take it outside?
If you are interested in serving some of these current vacancies on our boards, please get in touch with us and we'll set up a meeting to get to know you. Number 3 on this, authorize the status change for Tammy Saba from provisional to probationary as a junior administrative assistant to full-time in the office of the supervisor. I'd like to make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Number 4, acknowledge the promotion of Scott Pyers to road maintainer to motor equipment operator for an hourly pay rate of $38,0264 per memo dated January 14th, 2023 from Nicholas DeVito, Superintendent of Highways, effective January 17th, 2023. Acknowledge the resignation of Dennis McNamara as a member of the Somers Planning Board, effective January 12th, 2023.
Thank you for the many years of service.
Yeah.
I just.
You guys want to go around the board?
He's the closest thing to Brady that we have. I mean, he retired and he came
He
back.
came back. So he served, I believe he served 3 terms as chair.
Yeah.
He's always, I've had many a conversation with him in his kitchen in the years I've been on it. He's a neighbor. He always took everything very seriously, never showed up not being fully versed on all the applications that were before him. He will be missed because he was firm but fair. And You always ask good questions. So, Dennis, we thank you very much for all your years of service.
A lot of institutional knowledge, bringing that to the table, and Berman Fair is exactly. Dennis. Anybody else?
No, good. Appreciate his service.
I think how many years was it in total? It was like 28 years or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, he's been on for a very long time. And
Record.
I just want to thank Mr. McNamara, as I call him, but my kids call him Pop. He's my neighbor and lives across the street, and he's been very instrumental in helping me out on a lot of things and getting up to speed what goes on in the town, just institutional knowledge, what goes on here. So Pop, I want to thank you for serving the town, and we appreciate all you've done.
Very nice.
So number 6, acknowledge the resignation of Robert Berman as a member of the Somers Partners and Prevention Committee effective January 17th, 2023. And then authorize the reappointment of Thomas Newman to the Somers Zoning Board of Appeals to a 5-year term. Take a motion for that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Write that down.
We got that.
You got that one, right?
Agenda.
I should have told you.
Sir,
I should tell you. Authorize the reappointment of Melissa Dippolito to the Somers Zoning Board of Appeals for a 5-year term that ends on December 31st, 2027. Make a motion on that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Then authorize the appointment of Paul Manuel to the Somers Library Board of Trustees to fill a second of 2 nearly created positions on the board for a 5-year term effective January 1st, 2023 and ending December 31st, 2027. I'll make a motion for that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Nothing in planning and engineering, police, proposed consensus agenda, make a motion to move the consensus agenda to next week. Make a second.
Second.
You don't have to do that,
You
but
don't have.
sure, if you want us to, sure.
All the time. I do it all the time. It's, you
You
know,
like moving things. That's
I
all
do
right.
like moving it. We move it. We move it. We move it. And then our calendar coming up here. We have, February 9th is our next town board regular meeting. And then we also have March 2nd and March 9th, both at 7:00, and April 6th and April 13th. Everything starts at 7:00 here.
Is there any of those in April of the school calendar?
No, the school calendar is that following week in March. I believe it's the 20th to the 24th.
Oh, really?
Is what, the break?
The break, yeah.
No, I think it's first week of April.
Is it? I thought it was 20. We're going.
I think it's in April.
I think it's April 1st or something, whatever that first week is,
I thought.
unless they're pulling April Fools.
I'm not as
Maybe
connected as I used to be.
Oh, maybe it is. I don't know. Okay, so I should know.
So can we ask our audience members, do you guys know when winter break or spring break is from
That's what-
school?
Oh, no, the other one.
No, that's February 20th.
That's the winter break.
February 20th is
The
next.
spring break is in April.
Is it
It's
April?
April.
Do you guys happen to know when in April? It's around Easter though, right?
It's like April 1st.
Passover.
And I want to commend you guys for sitting here for this long and listening to the 5 of us talk, because God bless you.
Did you take notes? Citizens.
I saw you.
Are you going to get a badge?
I saw you dozing off about halfway through, but you rallied. So thank you.
So there are no announcements, but I do have, actually, I have a couple of announcements here. So Patty just performed her first marriage. And that was yesterday, the February 1st. And Puxatawny Phil, the 6 more weeks of winter here. And then the Super Bowl is set as well.
Yeah.
That is about it.
Okay,
And
so on this day in history.
there we go.
It's back. All right.
As Rob just mentioned, today is Groundhog Day, and the first Groundhog Day was February 2nd, 1887. So this is the 136th Groundhog Day on record.
Now, Patty, is it the same groundhog for the entire time named Phil?
Yeah, he is
There's
a rallying
Wow.
Royal
groundhog.
family. It's a descendant of.
I learned a lot about Groundhog Day today, but anyway.
Phil.
And then on another note, this day in 1913, Grand Central Station opened.
Nice.
And it took them some years to construct.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow,
It's a nice
that's
thing.
actually pretty good.
Still holding up.
And they just, didn't they just finish the Long Island, the new station up there?
Yeah, the connection.
Spring recess is the first
Third to
week.
the sixth, so we may have to,
We talked about that, Rob.
we did? Well, we can always talk about, we do it next week.
That's why I'm wondering on those dates.
We can always do something if we need to change it, you guys. We can talk about it throughout the week. Anybody have anything else?
Just wanted to mention that Cityscape, who's the consultant that the Westchester County government hired to do the wireless master plan. They completed it. They just sent, well, they completed the draft. We'll distribute it through your office.
Thank you.
And, get comments. They'll make some changes to it, but it's a comprehensive assessment of everything up in the northern communities here as it relates to technology, where it is today and, what they're thinking about going forward, give everybody some guidance.
What input do we have on that? Yeah, we're in Somers, obviously we didn't have any input outside of Somers, but
Well-
is that what we will see is the whole thing? And
We did a lot of input. I mean, over the course of the year and a half, 2 years, one of them was a survey. Remember, we did that survey? And we supplied them all the information with regards to, where the existing cell towers are. They came up and they spoke to us. Sue Raybold came up here. They toured the community and they took an inventory of everything that's here. And then when you go through it, you'll see based on their understanding of technology and the overlaying density, they're able to just determine where the strong points are and the weak points are and why they're there. And they not only did this for Somers, they did this for Bedford, North Salem, I think as far south as Newcastle. So there's about eight or so, governments that did this. The planners that helped us at the time, I mean, Surratt was supplying some of the information and, and the like. So everybody get a chance to take a look at that. All right. And that's, that's it.
Anybody else?
Nope, everybody stay warm. It's going to get
Yeah.
cold over the next couple days.
So then I'd like to make a motion to close tonight's meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved.